Shalom, I'm Rabbi Michael Panitz. I'm the rabbi of Temple Israel of Norfolk, Virginia, speaking to you from the pulpit of our synagogue. At this time, my message is entitled Moses the Revolutionary. I often feel sympathy for Shammai, the, quote, Hamilton Burger from the Perry Mason series, the district attorney who almost never won a case. Shammai seems like that because the law typically doesn't side with him. But then I channel Hillel, with whom the law does side. In the famous Talmudic story, Shammai is depicted as a short-tempered rabbi who did not have patience for impertinent questions. Once when a pagan approached him and asked him to teach him Torah while standing on one foot, Shammai chided him for such a disrespectful request and pushed him away, brandishing the carpenter's square he was using in his day job. Then the pagan went to Hillel and made the same demand. Instead of rejecting the question and dissing the questioner, Hillel answered, "What is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow person." The rest is commentary. Now, go and study. I'm reminded of the pagan's question because of the assignments I receive from the local universities where I teach. The setup of the world history or European history surveys offered there is such that I am required to go from ice ages to global warming in one semester, with only time to stand on one foot and teach topic after topic. When it comes to teaching the history and religion of biblical Israel, what am I to choose? Of course, the likely candidates are Shema Yisrael, Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one, and Lo Yihiyeh Lecha Elohim Acherim Al Panai from the Ten Commandments, have no other gods in my presence, and of course, the positive formulation of what Hillel opted to teach, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, you shall love your fellow person as yourself. All of these are correct, and I reference them all. But I also take a relatively obscure law because I think it shows with particular clarity how revolutionary was the monotheism taught by Moses and his successors. This is the law against returning a fugitive slave to his master. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verses 15 through 16. Quote, Lo tasgir eved la'adonav. If a slave has taken refuge with you, do not hand them over to their master. Let them live among you, wherever they like, and in whatever town they choose. Do not oppress them. This law gives the students an opportunity to contrast the social vision of the Bible and its legal expression with the vision and the law of the other ancient Near Eastern societies of the day. One class session earlier, I teach the students about the early civilizations of Egypt and Mesopotamia. Building on that, I show them the following selection from the famous Code of Hammurabi, laws 15 through 19. 15. If a man let a male or female slave, whether of the palace or outside, escape through the city gate, he will be executed. Number 16. If a man has hidden in his house a slave, male or female, who has disappeared from the temple or from a workman, and does not produce them when the alarm is raised, the owner of that house shall be killed. Number 17. If a man captured an escaped male or female slave in the hinterland and has conducted him to his owner, the slave's owner will give him 2 shekels of silver. Number 18. If said slave has not named his owner, he will conduct him to the palace. The circumstances of his case will be investigated, and he will be returned to his owner. Number 19, if he has kept that slave in his house, and later the slave has been caught in his possession, that man will be executed. What kind of society produces such laws? Clearly, a society founded on extreme social hierarchy, with people divided into classes: nobles, freemen, and enslaved. Conversely, what kind of historical experience caused the authors of the Bible to express just the opposite ideal? As the Bible often states, it was the experience of having endured enslavement and once freed, having the opportunity to find a better frame for society. Western society learned a lot from the Bible, but it did not abolish slavery very quickly or thoroughly. In Western Europe, serfdom only declined in the aftermath of the Black Death, when extreme labor shortages allowed peasants to negotiate their freedom and commute their serfdom to tenant farming. Even that amelioration did not happen in Russia until the mid-19th century. As for the United States, we all know too well that slavery was enshrined into the Constitution adopted by the first 13 states, and that the debate over slavery was the root cause of the American Civil War. The 1850 Fugitive Slave Law was a key accelerant in the fire that ultimately became the costliest war in our nation's history. We residents of Hampton Roads, Virginia, are accustomed to highlighting the first step in the emancipation of the enslaved, a step that took place right across the water from us in Hampton, Virginia. Early in the Civil War, escaped enslaved people made their way to the Union Fort Monroe. In a strange twist, the official Union position was that the enslaved men and women needed to be returned to their owners. But the commanding general of the fort, Benjamin Butler, refused to enrich these secessionists. He came up with the novel interpretation of the concept contraband of war to justify keeping the escapees under Union protection. If we read the Bible attentively, we see a cross-section of both progressive and conservative purposes. But at its very core, the Bible is a revolutionary text saying, "I dissent to a world consensus that people have the right to enslave their fellow humans." The promise of the Bible that we should be a, quote, Mamlechet Kohanim v'Goy Kadosh, Exodus chapter 19, a kingdom of priests, a holy people, which means that we should be free and equal under God's law. That was an unparalleled ideal. That ideal has fueled the distinctiveness of Judaism for 3,000 years, until the world comes around to accepting its radical equality. There is work for us, as standard bearers of Jewish tradition, to do. May we not falter, for this is God's work here on earth.